Hello, good morning, everyone. Hello, good morning. Thank you for being here on this Saturday morning to join our PAM online CPD seminar. So my name is ZE. I'm the moderator for today's webinar. So, okay, you will see the sign-in code. So just a gentle reminder for those who want to claim your CPD points, you will have to record or jot down or copy the sign-in code at the beginning of this seminar, as well as at the end of this presentation or webinar. So first of all, I would, on behalf of the PAM Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, I would like to welcome our President of PAM, Associate Professor, Architect Sally.
Hi.
And our speakers, Architect Shyuan, as well as Architect Ellina, Rahman. So to all of them, thank you for accepting our invitation to be here today to share some of your experience as well as showcase some of your exceptional works to our PAM fellow architects as well as to the public. So maybe before we kickstart of this seminar, I would like to have a short introduction of our PAM DEI committee, which is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. So this committee, it was previously a Gender Equity Committee in 2021 to 2022, led by Dato Architect Pante. And the president, our president, Associate Professor Architect Sally, decided to expand the committee to a DEI committee for this council term, so which our current chairman for this DEI committee is Architect Alice Leong. So the committee started in the year of 2020, July. So we focus on the three main core. Diversity in this context is the representation of various identities and differences, be it like male, female, different ages, young and old, locals and overseas graduates. Equities embrace the fairness and equitable treatment. So equal access, equal opportunity to every one of us, particularly in the architectural profession. And the inclusion is about providing an environment where individuals' perspectives, ideas, or thoughts are respected and valued. So if any of you are interested to join our DEI committee, feel free to write in and apply for it. So first of all, I think we shall start with our PAM President, Architect Sally, to give his opening remarks. So Architect Sally.
Yep. Very good morning. Thank you, Architect Lee, the E. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, and I think I'm happy to be here to welcome everyone to this seminar, both by Architect Kuee and Architect Ellina. I think they represent the mission statement for diversity, equity, and inclusion, because at the end of the day, PAM is only as strong as its members, and we need our members to come from all strata of society, all walks of life. It's not just about professional architects or established firms. We need both genders. We need people who are working in all levels of the industry. We don't just need the bosses. We need the middle management. We need to engage the young architects. We need to engage people who are doing the actual work on the ground. We need people who are aspiring to become architects. And I think this is the whole idea that is behind this diversity, equity, and inclusion, to ensure that PAM remains relevant and we as a profession is united in one singular message to help everyone in making the profession better, as well as in our long-term mission for nation building. And I hope all of us here would benefit from today's session and give our full support to the DEI committee. As Architect Lee mentioned, please, if you feel the inclination to join the committee, please do join the committee. It's not just open to women, yeah, because the previous perception was it's only open to women. It's not. That's why it's open to everyone. It's diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we welcome everyone to join in and contribute and perhaps make things better, and all of us build better for the future. Thank you so much. Back to you, Architect Lee.
Thank you, Associate Professor Architect Salih. Thank you for the opening remarks. Okay, I think without further ado, I shall introduce our first speaker of the day, Architect Shyuan Kuee. So let me give a little bit of the introduction of this architect, Shyuan. Her interest in architecture was instrumental to her achievements since the early university years. So especially when she was given the Trend Architecture Travel Best Student Awards in 2003. So in 2004, Architect Shyuan graduated from the University of Sheffield with a first-class honors. So she was then offered by BDP to join their award-winning London studio, where Shyuan was introduced to a broad range of projects across the UK and globally. So soon after, BDP rewarded Shyuan with a scholarship towards her postgraduate studies in Butler University, the Butler School of Architecture. So upon graduation, Architect Shyuan's strong interest in sustainable architecture brought her to work for the world-renowned architect firm Foster and Partners in London. So her contributions to mega projects like Zayed Museum Abu Dhabi, Masdar City, and UAE Pavilion in Shanghai Expo 2010. She then became a RIBA Chartered Architect in 2010. So equipped with all this exposure overseas she had in the West and in Middle East, she was ready to return to Malaysia, and particularly to Ipoh. She was determined to contribute in the local sustainable scene. So she passed her Land Part 3 registration examination on her first attempt in 2013. So then she set up her Kuee Architects. So over the years, Architect Shyuan and her team has worked on multiple projects consist of like private residence, housing projects, hospital and medical center, hotels, car showroom, government and royal buildings, factories, etc. So her company has also explored on developments in other countries like India and Myanmar. Architect Shyuan became a GBI facilitator in 2018, and she was also elected as the committee member of MGBC, Malaysia Green Building Council. So her work and contribution were further celebrated with her receiving of the Acacia Travel Award 2018, British Pedia Successful People 2020, and also our PAM Awards for the consecutively 3 years in 2020, 21, and 22. So she will show some of her exceptional works in her presentation later. So despite all her achievements, Architect Shyuan remained as an empathetic individual. Her office also worked on many pro bono projects for the local NGOs, for the charity establishment all these years. So to shape the comfortable built environment for the less fortunate, as she believes that good architecture should be enjoyed by people from all walks of life, as mentioned by Associate Professor Architect Salih. So here you go. I will pass the screen to Architect Shyuan with a topic, When an Architect Turns Feminine. So Architect Shyuan, over to you.
Okay, good luck, Shyuan. Thank you for hosting us at Ipoh the other day.
Thank you.
Hi everyone. Good morning. Thank you very much, Zee, for the detailed introduction, and thank you, Pam, for inviting me to this special event. Good morning to you all. Okay, let me arrange. So today I will talk about how being more feminine actually helps with my career. Hi, Architect Sally, sorry. I've never really approached my talk from the perspective of a woman, or woman architect for that matter. So when the committee approached me, I did a bit of retrospective insight into my childhood life. I was born in a family with two elder brothers. Since young, I didn't really like girly things. Under that influence, actually, I play with things like blocks, toy cars, even plastic knives. I remember that during my teenage years, I was a little bit confused with my gender and started wearing baggy clothes, behaving like brothers, and acting very much like my parents' third boy. So that little boyish girl grew up wanting to be an architect, and she chose to further her studies overseas. So she flew to UK just by herself, studied hard, and worked part-time to support herself. Becoming the top student and graduating with first-class honors, and there I was, photographed with respected Datuk Kenyang on my graduation day. The tough, boyish little girl didn't actually stop there. So after 2 years of postgraduate studies at the Bartlett, I applied to work for one of the top architects in the world, which is Foster and Partners, wanting to learn from no one else but the best in the field. So being around with some of the greatest minds in the environment, I was slowly overbuilding my confidence, growing the competitive side of me to a greater extent. So perhaps deep down, I was feeling a bit inferior as a woman in a male-dominant world. So I had to force the little boy inside me to take charge. It won't be surprised for us to find out that only 17% of the architects in the world are female, compared to 36% for doctors and 47% for lawyers. So I just thought that I had to be as good as men to be successful in this field. I was trying my best to fit in. For the world's top 40 architects, there seem to be only 3 women architects who had made it to the list. It is a very sad but real scene. It has given me more convincing proof that if you want to be good in this field, you better be a man. So I came back to Malaysia in the early 2010s, wanting to set up a firm of my own. So with some good experience I've gained in the UK, I was ready to express or to prove myself to the world. However, the first few years of setting up my business wasn't a smooth ride. I was very aggressive in business pitching, and a lot of time when I was stressing out, my attitude to my staff wasn't good. I call them staff at that time, so you can sense the superiority in that. I wasn't friendly with suppliers and contractors. The atmosphere between me and everyone around me was just a little tense up. Deep down, I actually knew that I couldn't find my inner balance. I possessed many of the masculine characters, even more so on the wounded and negative side. I was very aggressive, dominant, always wanting to be in control, extremely competitive, very arrogant, thinking that was the way to run an architectural firm in a male-dominant world. Although we did win quite a number of commissions, many of the projects that we worked on actually didn't last very long. From residential schemes, factories to mixed-use projects, master planning, along the way, somehow or other, either the client didn't want to continue with the projects or they just found someone else to do it. So the whole aura or the whole atmosphere surrounding me was very negative, very discouraging. I was overboard with being a masculine character that actually brought my career down the drain. 2017 was the worst year. With almost 50% of our projects got stopped, my staff was leaving and I wasn't gaining profit. The company was failing. I was on the brink of closing down the company. So my partner saw me struggling. One day he sat me down. He said to me, do you know that whenever you're stressing out or when you're angry, you will become this other person, as if you had this man living inside your body. And when he's out, your feminine side will be totally suppressed and totally disappeared. So it's not a pleasant scene at all when a woman is shouting. That was probably why your company wasn't performing. So actually, I wasn't surprised. I knew that deep down. So I tried to dwell deeper into my own character. I found that I was possessing so much of the negative masculine traits that what I should be cultivating was the natural feminine side of me. I should have been more understanding, kind, and just be gentle to everybody around me. My partner also passed me a book. It's a book from Lao Tzu, one of his legendary philosophy book, Tao Te Ching. Although coming from a Chinese educated background, I never really had the opportunity to delve deeper into these books. So I decided to spend some time reading it. And what's in the book eventually changed the next chapter of my life. One phrase which I had the most resonance with was 上善若水. Probably you have heard. It means be water. Utmost kindness is like water. The highest goodness is like water. Water benefits all things and does not compete. It stays in the lowly places which others despise. Nothing in the world is so soft and yielding as water. Yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. The soft overcomes the hard, the gentle overcomes the rigid. So the deeper meaning of Lao Tzu has actually given me a totally different perspective as how I should treat others and where I should position myself. Instead of being always high up, the dominant one, maybe it's time to put myself down at the very bottom. We are not talking about being so humble that other people should take charge of things or take advantage of us, but it's the beauty of balance myself up with more of the feminine traits and not let the masculine trait overtake me. Once I adopted this concept and applied that in life, everything changed. I became the most calm and gentle version of myself. I started practicing meditation, yoga, doing lots of exercise, learned how to control my temper, and no longer shouted at my colleagues. I no longer call them staff. Now I call them colleagues, so not to have any superiority over the team. I also no longer had any conflicts with my fellow consultants, contractors, suppliers, and obviously not my clients. So immediately I was able to attract the greatest things in my life. The turning point. The first change that I noticed was that I started attracting the ideal clients, the right clients. This ideal client gave us the ideal project, which led us to our very first PAM award, which is the Galaxia event place. He came to me asking for a design for a wedding hall with two criteria. It should be in the form of a glass house with a black background instead of a conventional white background. We eventually adopted the concept of a black diamond. He also said that I have faith in you. You have free hand to do whatever you want and I will not interfere. So it's perfect, right? During the design process, we decided to dismantle and deconstruct the black diamond. We explored the transmission of light in diamond, which was then expressed through the zigzagged facade. With various tones of black, opaque, and clear glass panels representing the different light transmission, the facade was color-coded accordingly. During the design process, we had made several physical models and one-to-one mock-ups at the glass factory to test out the effect and structural integrity of the zigzagged forms. Just as any other projects we do in our office, there were sustainable elements applied. We have low E glass facing the west, slanted facade for self-shading, the thickest roof available in the market, roof insulation available in the market. And as a result, there's a drop of 3 to 4 degrees during a hot day. Also, there's LED lighting throughout and rainwater harvesting for the landscape irrigation. So that's the end product. The photo showing the main entrance before a wedding ceremony is being held. The floating platform for exchanging vows. We have the flooring cladded with large pieces of white toned marble, granite for the garden walkways. the drop-off area of the event place, and the interior views of the wedding hall at various settings. So during the opening ceremony of the event place, we had Tuan Kuee with us, Sultan Perak. This was a very eventful day. So this was a team that we worked together. Throughout the project, we never had any fights. Whenever we had issues to resolve, we would discuss it in a very harmonious manner. So it's a very happy team. I could really feel that at that point that things actually become much better after I decided to be a feminine version of me. Right, the next project, which won us the second PAM award, was Pante Hospital Ipoh Rebranding. The original building was built about 30 years ago. The CEO wanted a new identity of the hospital, incorporating some green concepts into the new facade. The brief was to create a modern, sleek facade, which accentuate the presence of the hospital. Situated at the busy junction of two protocol roads in Ipoh, is one of the most prominent locations in the city. We tested out with different versions of dramatic form, something which is eye-catching, feature the corporate image of the hospital, yet at the same time not too daunting to the patients and visitors. During the color selection process, we did some research of color psychology for patients. We selected blue because it's the corporate color of Pante Hospital Group. And we did some studies from Professor Sarah Zagon, who is the author of The Power of Color. Blue is the natural symbol, sky and the ocean, defined often by the quality of relaxation, serenity, and loyalty. It is known to lower blood pressure and is excellent as healing color for nervous disorders. Due to its temperature being cool, it's also good for relieving headaches, bleeding, open wounds, and so on. So with the chosen blue color tones specifically suggested by Professor Sarah, we came up with a mock-up at the site. So that was approved. The background color will remain as white, clean and simple, as to blend in with the existing wall and not to distract too much of the traffic's attention. The blue aluminum strips were scattered in a well-planned yet seemingly random manner. The number of fins were maximized at the east and west side to block out as much sunlight as possible into the building. As a result, the hospital's electricity bill actually cut down to a certain extent. Although the client did not choose to apply for a green certification, the concept of facade has followed GBI rating tools in many ways. We have rainwater harvesting for landscape irrigation. We have LED lighting for the facade. We also intentionally carve out the viewing boxes to allow patients to have external views to the greenery. So this is the view looking out to the greenery from the wards. The original arc-shaped art deco of the car porch were replaced by modern slabs. We extended the slab with additional steel structure cladded with aluminum panels, and the extension has increased the drop-off lanes from single to double lane. The center of the car porch is open up, installed with skylight for natural daylight and louvers for hot air to escape. The comment from the PAM Awards jury: the facade facelift was able to enhance the healthcare image and corporate look by creating an architectural statement. With all the LED lighting turned on at night. Upon receiving the PAM Award in the alteration and additional category, the hospital organized an appreciation ceremony with Datuk Bandar Ipoh and Majlis Bandara Ipoh, recognizing the contribution of the new facade to Ipoh skyline. Again, it was a very pleasant experience working with the team. Last but not least, I would like to share one of our most important projects to date, which is One Lasam. This project has won us many recognitions and publications, and I'm very glad the entire process has witnessed my evolution for the past decades, because it's taken 9 years to complete. The owner, Datuk Lim, approached me in the year 2012, showed me the site where he grew up. He had a lot of fond memories here and would like to preserve the land by building his headquarters building on the site. So as a forward-thinking individual, he wanted to build the first ever GBI Platinum building in Perak, because at that time there were no other green buildings in the state. This is actually in line with the group's motto to be a pioneer in many of their business ventures for the past decades. There have been many rounds of redesigning due to design change in brief, value engineering exercises due to the high cost to achieve GBI Platinum building. Also, we had a lot of restrictions on the site, such as the tight V shape, the neighbor army camp, and COVID for the past 2 years. Nevertheless, we finally confirmed the design and we completed the building towards the end of 2021. Situated in Greentown business area of Ipoh, is a strategic location in the city. The building is a 5-story office block with 30,000 square feet workspaces, which are convertible to gallery, museum, and education spaces. One of the restrictions that we have is the tight V-shaped site. We had to maximize the space on the ground by pushing the building outline to the boundary. We also have to lift the building up to allow space for vehicle and pedestrian circulation underneath. The adjacent army camp also posed as a design challenge. We had many rounds of discussion with the sergeant for 2 to 3 years just to fulfill their requirements. One of it is to avoid direct view to their site. So we had to install these specially designed louvers to allow daylight to come in, but block 90 degrees view out to their site. The roof was also made inaccessible to anyone except for service purposes. This is to prevent any possible threat standing on the roof level. With the tight site, we also had to carve out the central courtyard to allow cross and stack ventilation and also daylighting to reach all levels of the floor plates. This is a view looking up at the courtyard. And knuckle windows were installed at higher levels for natural ventilation so that no air conditioning is required during a cool day. With the central courtyard, most sides of the office floor plates are well lit with natural daylighting. Dato has made it very clear that he wanted floating boxes to be the building geometry. So we explored with different versions and finally settled with a box-in-box concept supported by a symbolic letter V to resonate with the V shape of the site and V shape of the balustrades. The concept also blended well with the constraints of the site. The box-in-box massing serves as a heat barrier to the sites facing east and west. There's a huge cavity between the walls, which are able to block sunlight and heat from these two sites. Our materials are kept at bare minimal, with majority exposed concrete, red bricks, and to many surprises, not a single drip of paint is used in the entire building. This is to reflect the company's industrial past and to pursue good practices for their future developments. A bit of technical information here. We have applied active systems such as high efficiency VRF aircon system, automatic lighting control sensors, CO2 sensors, LED lighting. We have also used 40 kilowatt peak solar panel on the rooftop to generate enough electricity for the whole building. As a result, the building is 64% more energy efficient than a conventional office with a BEI of 72 kilowatt hour per meter square per annum compared to 200 for a conventional office. In terms of water, there are rainwater housing and greywater recycling for landscape irrigation and toilet flushing. As a result, 68% reduction in potable water use in the building. Also something new here, bioswales contributed 1 point in GBI innovation category. This was introduced to the site to minimize stormwater discharge impact to the surroundings. Our summary sheet, all the points that we have achieved for GBI rating. So we have scored 87 points out of 100 to achieve GBI Platinum rating at DA stage. Relevance to community. The intention was very clear that the building would be accessible to public after the completion. So currently, Dato and the team is working on the gallery and the museum that showcase history of Ipoh and Ipoh as a tin mining city in the past to the community. It's also a socially responsible building There are GBI features such as the building management system, whereby the public will be able to understand how a building works with real-time energy and water usage display. Being the first and only GBI Platinum building in Perak, we have a great role to play to educate and share knowledge of green building to the local community. We have also achieved 8 categories in United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, namely Category 3, Good Health and Well-being, Category 6, Clean Water Sanitation, 7, Affordable and Clean Energy, 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, 12, Responsible Consumption and Production, 13, Climate Action, 14, Life Below Water, and 15, Life on Land. Again, it has been a very pleasant working relationship with everyone in the team. All parties have been cooperative in the process, working in harmony. We rarely had any conflicts. All issues are being discussed and resolved in a friendly manner. So, like I said, it has taken 9 years from inception to completion. It's been executed by a team which believes that great things take time. The early years of setting up my business wasn't great. It was a period of struggle due to my negative masculine traits. It has taken years for me to realize that as the head of the company, I should really learn to be more caring, kind, and seek for harmony, being in a difficult and complicated construction world. We should bring in positive energy to the entire team, and that will actually channel from top down. Before we shout at our contractors, colleagues, or perhaps just hold for 10 seconds and think about everyone actually has their own burden and challenges in life as well. After my evolution, or rather enlightenment, the atmosphere in the office has totally changed. After I decided to be a more feminine individual, rather than trying hard to be a manly dominant character, we became a team which works extremely well together. We now respect each other and love each other like a family. Most importantly, we are able to deliver positive results which will ultimately benefit the society in general. I won't say that I'm a perfect woman leader as yet, but I'm determined to be always better than yesterday. So to end my presentation, I humbly hope that everyone here, whether you are working for someone or running your own business, whether you're a man or a woman, if you can, always try to be water. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Architect Shyuan, for all your sharings along your career pathway and some of those exceptional projects and works that you have contributed to the architectural profession. Thank you very much. Before we get into our second speaker, Architect Ellina Rahman, if you have any questions with regards to the presentation or the sharing by Architect Shyuan, feel free to post it on the Q&A box. So we have a Q&A, question and answer box in the Zoom. Feel free to type your questions there, and then we will try to answer each of them later after both the presentation. So we will proceed with the next speaker, Architect Ellina Rahman. Architect Ellina Rahman is a director in DP Architects Sdn Bhd. So she graduated from the University of Newcastle upon Tyne in UK under the Jabatan Perkhidmatan Awam JPA scholarship program. So prior to her starting her architectural career in 2008, she has worked in a small but busy architectural practice in Glasgow, Scotland, that set her to pursue her career path in architectural profession. So before her return to Malaysia, she has also won a few prizes. First prize International Design Competition on the Post-Disaster Relief Housing in Italy 2006, as well as the second prize National Essay Competition on the Environmental Issues in 1998. So Ellina's professional experience covers a wide variety of projects from residential, hospitality, master planning, commercial developments, industrial and educational projects worldwide. So as a firm believer of knowledge is supposed to be shared, and her passion contributing within the architectural fraternity, she's an active contributor to the LAMP Part 3 study groups. So Ellina contributes herself to the PAM Fire Working Group since the 2021. Architect Ellina, are you here? So yes, okay. So for Architect Ellina, because she has pre-recorded a video, so maybe we can start to share her pre-recorded video presentation.
Thank you, Zee.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. I am so thrilled to be here today. I know everyone is busy and a weekend's rest will be great, or it will be the only time for chores and home matters. Therefore, I thank you so much for making time to listen in. Thank you also to Pam under the Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Committee for giving me an opportunity to share some of my insights along architect Shyuan Kuee, which I hold in great respect with her outstanding works today. My talk today is about my life experiences as a woman architect with the title, You'll Never Shine If You Don't Glow. So if you are introvert and someone who always prioritizes your other many hats, if you know what I mean, you have concern on other people's perception and you just don't see the purpose to glow, perhaps this presentation is just for you. Some key information on myself in which has been explained earlier by Pam. So I am Ellina Rahman. I'm currently a director of DP Architects. I am a graduate from University of Newcastle upon Tyne, United Kingdom. I'm a mom of a beautiful 11-year-old girl who is now much taller than me. I teach sometimes, as well as being an architect, who you may have seen me here and there running around. So this photo was me at Bomba Maharajalela. And there was a funny story that a few Bomba officers thought that I was a runner. It was fun because I like to play along. I wanted to search for my photo, so-called in action, as a woman architect at site. However, I realized I rarely have my photos taken and stumble upon this one, and it's perfect. And this is my last point. In many occurrences, I would be, or maybe you guys will agree as well, that so little amount of women in a sea of men at site. Yes, and also I'm that tiny being in this photo here. And wearing face mask doesn't help with talking with others. So we go to the third point, which is concern on perception. To me, perception is not something we could control. These are the two examples, the easiest examples that we have. If you're a man, you're sending off your kid to a nursery, you're an involved dad. But if you're a mom, somehow you're a working mom. And buying groceries, you're super helpful dad. And if you're a woman, you're just a mom. So it is something that we can't change. So why not? We just let it go and not focus on it. Coming to the last one, doesn't see the purpose to glow. I hope today I may share some ideas for you to see the relevance that we could use for your future. For those who are born in the 1970s to 1985, you may be a bit more familiar with this phrase. It is an extract from a so-called one-hit wonder by a group called Smash Mouth. It is called "You'll Never Shine If You Don't Glow." A friend of mine back in 1999 always mentioned this quote, but it never occurred to me that it would be relevant until 6 years ago. I was promoted to senior associate in the office, but our MD at that time, she voiced out that she knew I have been helping others behind the scene, but it was not seen by management. Sorry. So she got to know from other member of staff, which was my direct superior. In my mind, he or she was already glowing, and they shed some light over me. I'm thankful for that. But truth to be told, I'm not one with interest to grow or to glow. Sorry, I'm not one with interest to glow, but rather love direct spotlights to others. By that point, I have started my journey to lead others and observing key strengths of my team members. I know then I have to glow in order to ensure my growth and also to shed some lights over others. So this quote is relevant to me. If you want to give light to others, you have to glow yourself. So for ease of reference today, I go by with these acronyms of some of the key points that I go through as a practicing woman architect in our built environment today, despite being perceived as someone soft-spoken and quiet, and also vertically challenged. The last one I just can't help. Okay, so first one would be goal setting and go for it. Live life and be fulfilled. Obstacles bring opportunities. And the last one, work together. The first part of the glow would be goal setting and go for it. Goal setting is everything. It's easier to plan when we have an aim in mind. This photo, taken from Google, of course, is a 65 hectares KVMRT Sungai Buloh Depot. Was one of my projects that I was involved in. It is the largest train depot in Southeast Asia. I was working in a team under a supervision of a senior architect, but he left midway just before tender in order to open up his own practice. So at that point, I was kind of lost, but I have this motto that I have to go for it. So what I did was carry through the project with this 33, we have 33 buildings inside this Sungai Buloh Depot, in which we have on the left side, you can see that there's train stabling of 800 meters long, and then 2 large workshops of 400 meters long, and all other ancillary buildings. So for me, it's just go for it. I may cry today, I may walk tomorrow, crawl the day after, but I'll make sure that I move forward. However, at one point, I have decided to leave because I need to achieve my other goals in life. So I moved on. So go for it. But you have to consider some cause and effect. Don't forget to recalibrate and reset button may be required. So I think everyone knows our brain contains 60% of fat. So this was a joke during the time I was pursuing my part 3. So I was focusing solely on reaching my goal, which is part 3, passing the part 3. And then at that time, I let go of anything else and everything else, my health, self-care and everything. So I keep having this joke that if I can have more fat cells, perhaps they contain brain cells. So it becomes an extension to my brain. But yeah, later on, I did pass this with my friend Zain. But the outcome of it is not good in terms of health. Somehow, right after I passed my exam, I was quite lucky to be able to get a free ticket to Istanbul. So this was me in Istanbul. And then I realized I can't walk around because I was too heavy. So I have this determination. I have to push the reset button and have to make sure by the time I go travel again in a few years' time, I won't be this heavy so that I can walk around. So I focus in that. I go for it. So this was the year later, which was in Pisa. So I managed to reduce 25 kilo then. I've reduced more since then, but yeah, so I was happy. At least I can travel a bit more freely. The second one will be L, live life and be fulfilled, as happiness is contagious. Happiness and fulfillment is actually something that contains within you. This will help you to glow and to shed lights over others. So it depends on you whether what are the things that will excite you. Teaching, traveling, volunteering, racing. Okay, maybe not racing. But for me, for Friday nights after a long week, that would be great. Live life and be fulfilled. Seek purpose while doing things we love. So books. I have some books that are quite profound to me. I used to read fictions, but somehow I change because we have to travel a lot. So I start to read other types of books. So these 3 books actually help me to learn about people and to get some tips from about leadership as well, to understand how to work with others. So this helps. And also the right side is something that is quite intriguing. I bought it, I think, a few months ago. It is called Nice Girls Still Don't Get the Corner Office. I bought it just because I don't agree with the title. I thought, hey, I'm a nice girl. Why can't I get the corner office? But the book is nothing like that. It was good. So if you have time, go borrow from someone or get a new copy. The third one will be obstacles bring opportunities. So COVID-19 MCO, the first one, I think it hits everyone. It hits bad. And then a lot of people struggle, especially working mothers. So at that time, too many hats to juggle at one point, working from home, everyone was stressed out. So it was not good, but we cannot be fooled during the second round of MCO2. So what I did, I made time for personal growth. So I joined the Fire Working Group 2021. It is a humbling experience. If you can see in the bottom there, you can see all the seafoods is in the group. So I got to learn a lot of things from them. And also I'm able to contribute. So this is one part of me in which I think why glowing is worth it. In DP, we promote opportunities based on merit, regardless of one's background. And we carry through our culture as DP family to bring up compassionate leadership while striving as an architectural firm. As one of the leaders since earlier on, my focus was always with the people I work with. I plan their development, and I'm so blessed that these people who I work with are reciprocal with the intention. While I'm one working with smaller projects and with smaller group of people, I take the opportunity to focus on their development and shed lights on them. Hence, I relate back to the word glow in the beginning of my story. The last bit will be work together. Everyone has different ideas, perception, knowledge, skill set, strengths, etc. But at the end of the day, respect is the key in collaboration. If you look at the image over on the left side, it's the story about the blind man and the elephant. So each and every blind man describes the elephant differently. It's a wall, it's a fan, it's a tree, it's a snake. So it's the same as us. We have different perception over certain things. For example, a project. But if we collaborate and working together, imagine how much more that we can achieve. If each and every one of us use our strength to contribute and with respect. And during collaboration, we have to collaborate with all parties, of course, suppliers, subcontractors, main cons. And we have to have fun while at it. This is one of the processes that we did. We studied on how to, we had our detail ready, but we thought of trying to improvise and how to make it better on site. So luckily, yeah, the contractors, they're quite friendly and quite cooperative. So we test out. So these are some of the efforts that we do in which bring fun to the job. It is an open secret that clear communication and highly energized team will bring a successful project. So this is a project that recently completed a collaboration with designer in Singapore, FDAT, and also close collaboration working with the contractor, Sunway Woodcraft. So we won an award, partnership award, earlier of this year from the job that we did. And I thank my team that made this possible. So ask ourselves, is it worth to glow? So after 20 plus years of listening to the phrase in the All-Star song earlier, I get the meaning and importance of it. It is important to me as someone who seeks for growth to be a better person, a better leader, but also to be those who are around me. My core as a person is still the same. I'm still that quietly assertive girl who gets excited to discover new things, but now with a stronger voice or actions to achieve more in future together. So this is one of the completed projects that we did under my care, which is in Melawati. So my final slide is almost is a gratitude to the cocoon of good people in my life whom I treasure for keeping me sane, happy, humble, and always excited. My husband and kid, this photo was taken the day I passed my exam. I'm not too sure why he looks so worried, but my kid seems happy, so that's good. My family, my DP family and mentors and friends, they have my forever gratitude. Thank you all again for listening. I hope there's something you can learn from my journey today. The journey is still long ahead of me. I am humbled to be able to share parts of it today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Architect Ellina. Thank you so much for all your sharings. And I can see like for both our architect Shyuan and architect Ellina, they both are the graduates from overseas. So basically, I mean, one is pursuing the path in big corporate office like DP Architects, a world-renowned architect firm, and then the other one decided to pursue on setting up her own practice, start from small. So I believe from both this career path in architecture is still leading them to where they are today. I'm very grateful that we have both of them to share their experience along the way. So for all the participants, if you have any questions, feel free to type in the Q&A chat box. Because at the moment we have only one question. I think the question is for Architect Shyuan. With regards to one of your project on the Pante Hospital, I think it's on the facade. On this blue and green, which one is the better for the occupants in terms of the color psychology? Maybe you want to share a little bit on your view of this color psychology, which you have done a little bit of research while working on that project.
If you have opportunity to look at the book by Sarah Zagon, I think she mentioned green is one of the healing colors as well. So green is taken up by the plants outside. So we mainly just have to deal with the blue lah. Also because the corporate color is blue, so we had to use blue. But if you read deeper into the books, yes, green is one of the healing colors. That's why plants is recommended for hospitals. If you look at Singapore, most of the hospitals are actually full with greenery all around. You have breakout spaces, you have planters outside your balcony. Yeah, it helps with healing.
Okay, thank you, Architect Shyuan. Apart from the specific questions on the project, we have also a few questions on your office culture practice. So what is your office culture practice that's asked from this participant, Nofate?
I'm not sure.
Culture like, I mean, in your practice, what is the, do you have any like, because recently I understand where we have this new or amendment to this Employment Act of this flexible working arrangement. Maybe you can start with like, what's your view about it? Yeah, so I mean, how's the culture like? And then, yeah.
Actually, we started the flexible hours since many years ago. Our colleagues are allowed to come in, like, let's say if you come in 8:30, you can leave 5:30. If you come 9:30, you can leave 6:30. So it's like flexible hours, and the lunch hour is also flexible. As long as you finish your hours, or if you have, you know, kids to fetch or whatever, you can take a half an hour off and you can replace back anytime. We also have our colleagues bringing in their kids when the kids is not well or their partner is not free, things like that. So we are very flexible because I'm a mom myself, so I'm very open to, you know, things accommodating to their lives.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And the second question is, what is the approach that you take to minimize the negative environment within your team? I understand that you have been talking about we need to have a harmonious environment in a teamwork environment, yes, to make sure that everyone is happy. But if there's something that's a negative happen, and then how would you deal with it?
We don't actually have office politics because we are very small. We are very much like a family. So we don't really argue that much. I mean, when we have things, we just talk things through. When I was younger, obviously, when I first started, I did shout at my colleagues, which was not very nice. So I think for the past few years, I've kind of totally changed. Yeah. So we just talk things through, like with your kids or with your partner. Yeah.
I think as what architect Ellina has said, respecting each other is one of the key to maintain a good environment for everyone to work together. So to make sure that the project will be successful in that sense.
I
I
told them that I want you to be happy. If you're happy, then we perform. If you're not happy, no point. Yeah, really.
And how do you compensate your team for their group job if they've done something great? So how do you compensate or compliment?
That. But last year was one of our best years so far. So they did have several months of incentives, respectively. So according to how many projects they have done and how well they have performed. So most of them have, I think, got the compensation that they deserve.
I guess this might be someone who really might want to apply to your firm. It seems like all the questions related to your practice.
Really.
Okay, maybe we'll go to the next question from Aida. From studying overseas to practicing in Malaysia, do you see the experience a stark difference in terms of the working and studying culture? Maybe can start with Ellina first. So from studying overseas and practicing in Malaysia, so do you see any experience that's the main differences? Working culture?
Okay, I would say that the graduates from Malaysia, they have a lot more depth in terms of knowledge than the overseas graduates, because we tend to be exploring and let loose a bit more, especially in our part ones and also part twos. But it depends on the person for them to catch up. And the working culture in the UK, of course, is so different from Malaysia. We are a bit more intense, not more, I think 10 times more intense, I have to say. So I remember there was a point that working in Glasgow, I was staying up to 5:55. And my boss said that, oh, you have to go back now, otherwise I'll be sued. So that was interesting. While in Malaysia, the culture is a bit different. But good that now we have a bit more flexibility in our working culture since the MCO, because we have started to believe that working from home actually works. So yeah, for me, there's pros and cons between both.
How about you, Architect Shyuan? Do you have anything you'd like to add on?
Sadly, my experience in the UK was a very tough one. At the Fosters, we had to work very late, sometimes up to 11 or midnight, because it was a very intense environment and you are actually not allowed to leave until very late. So to me, after I've come back to Malaysia, I've changed the working culture. My colleagues are not allowed to stay long. I mean, I'll ask them to go if it's like 6 or 6:30. I don't feel the need to stay until night, and leaving your family at home is not a very nice scene. So I'm trying to impose a European culture in Malaysia at the moment.
Good one. Does it make a difference, because is your office based in Ipoh makes a difference compared to the office based in KL, which is more hectic and chaotic? Jam and all this.
And we don't have jam. I mean, our office is like 10 minutes, and same for my colleagues. So, and then we are very laid back. I mean, we have the full weekends to ourselves and our families. And that's one thing that I am trying to really stand firm now, because families are very important to us.
Yeah, I think you make a very important point. Is also like, I mean, we have to make sure that work life is also balanced, that not just the work, but also the family parts. Yeah, I think, thank you very much for the answer. So we have the next question from Sue. Thank you for Xuan, for bravely sharing your personal experience. The changes you experience can also apply to men as well as women. So to label them as feminine is just reinforcing the social bias of how a woman should be. Would you say that they are humane qualities rather than feminine qualities?
Because for the purpose of this seminar, we are trying to explore how being a feminine individual, especially when you're a woman. So I've approached the talk from that perspective. But if you look at the original slide that I shared, there should be a balance between feminine and masculine traits. Whoever you are, there should be a balance inside you. Yeah, you're correct in a way that they are human qualities rather than just feminine qualities. So for men, maybe try to bring in some feminine qualities, and for women, try not to be a man in a man's world. It's the art of trying to strike a balance, really.
Thank you very much. And another question from Huda. How do you both handle when you are being scolded by client on personal issues in front of the project team members? So because I think he said that he or she is an introvert, and I'm really affected by it because I can't respond immediately. So do you have any tips for our participant? How do you handle the situation when you were scolded by the client? Yeah, I was started in front of everyone. Maybe Ellina, Architect Ellina, you want to share your view first or your tips first?
Well, at this point, what I can do is to release all my team members from the meeting, because when it gets personal, I think we should talk it out one-to-one, be rational. So what I understand about a person being angry is that they won't listen. So usually you will let them calm down and then come back and we discuss later, because there's no point of talking back or even scream at that person, because the way we treat people with respect, it doesn't matter how they treat us. We still treat them with respect, but we can't we should not move down our standards just because someone scream at us. Be professional. That would be my tip.
Thank you, Ellina. Architect Xuan, do you have any tips? Or how will you handle the situation?
Ellina has said it really well.
Okay.
Being in the environment, I'm sure you are much better than me to deal with a difficult situation like that. So I totally agree with you.
Thank you. So we have another question from Kelvin. With your experience overseas, what is the culture within the industry that is in dire need of a change? Do you think our industry or our architectural profession or construction industry that will need a change? If you compare to your experience overseas, Architect, maybe you could share your view on this.
When I was at Foster's, we did have many rounds of design reviews before the product is being presented to the client. I think that's one thing which we are lacking here. We focus too much on the product itself, but not the and the design process. So if we could, I would say maybe educate the public a bit more on the evolution of our design and how it came about. I'm more focused on that rather than just on the numbers, the figures, the square feet, or the end product. That will be really help with the industry, I think.
And there is this questions also very specific. Do you pay overtime to your staff if they work more than 12 hours? Maybe Ellina, do you pay in DP? Do you pay overtime to your staff?
If they're architects, no. We have a limit for architectural assistants and also coordinators for them to be able to claim. but up to certain limit of based on labor law, up to certain limit, then we won't let them claim. However, if you are starting out in the practice, right, the first 10 years is the time for you to gain all the experience, to engage with all the stakeholders, the suppliers. You have to talk to them, learn from them. You actually, in terms of work, if I work 8 hours a day, actually I'm adding a bit more, a few hours for me to learn. So this not just mean I go back and learn from home. It also means I meet with suppliers, I meet with other people's planners and also fellow consultants to learn. So I think if you are a part 2 architect, you should think about how to propel yourself forward instead of thinking about claims. Sorry about that, but this is my personal opinion about this.
Okay, thank you, Architect Ellina. How about Architect Shyuan? Do you have anything that you would like to add on to?
To me, I'm on the other extreme because I've suffered so much overseas. So now we don't really encourage overtime. If it's been really required, they will get approval from me. Then they will get paid for all the hours they have put in.
Thank you very much. That's a very good working culture. And there's another question from Nicole to both of you. May I have your advice for graduate architect who is starting their architectural career on what are the important things to focus on and to experience the first few years in their career? Maybe Architect Shyuan, you would like to share? What's your advice to the young graduate architects for the first few years, especially in their career? What should they focus on, and what are the important things that they should experience?
On this particular question, I would agree with Ellina that you really have to put in some hours. Because architecture is a very complicated industry and there's so much to learn. Find out that you have to have at least your IQ at least 120 to be an architect. So in a way, your brain has to be smart enough to cope with so many things at once. So if you're young, don't be afraid to go to explore, even overseas or wherever you can go. Just try some. I would recommend actually trying out different companies in your early years to see what is appropriate for you, whether it's a small company or big companies. They deal with different projects and different responsibilities. Just try things out.
Yeah. For the young graduates, so it's encouraged to take the courage to try different things, different companies, or even try to apply jobs overseas if you can. Yeah. So Architect Ellina, do you have anything that want to advise on the young graduate architect? What should they focus on other than focusing on the work rather than the exposure? Anything else that you would like to add on?
I think I addressed that earlier, but I would like to say again, like what I said earlier, you have to plan. So when you plan, right, you know what to do. So if you know that you want to do construction jobs, and then you have to learn about material. What are the requirements, specifications, things like that. So you will start to source this information. So I think being resourceful and being creative on how you want to get the information is very important.
And there's one more question for you, Architect Ellina, because you mentioned that you face your health or issues when you did your part 3. So when do you put a stop of your work pressure when it started to affect your health or your mental wellness? So what are the things that you need to be considered before you put a stop on that? So that was a question from Nur Fatehah.
Yeah, it's never easy, to be honest, because you have to again juggle with multiple hats. What I'll do is that I'll drop everything when I get home. I mean, like all the burdens in the office, I would try to drop at the doorstep of my home. It doesn't really work sometimes, but I try to do other things. So hence, we have to find ways to calm ourselves down or relax our mind. For example, I shared earlier, nowadays I start to focus on other things such as losing weight or exercising. I do read books. So I change the books that I read, but I also entertain myself with other things. So one of it is driving. So those are the things I think each and every one of us are different. So we have to find what are the things that that can help us to calm down.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And one more question from the participant: how to overcome introvertness in working with others? I mean, maybe this participant is a bit like an introvert. So how do you overcome that? Maybe Architect Shyuan, you can share a bit of your experience.
I used to be the most introvert person in the whole world. People come to visit my house, I would just stay in the room, and I never went out. That was me when I was young. But being an architect, I think you have to push yourself, because as an introvert person, you are actually losing out the opportunity to communicate with others. Mm. So if you think that this is the path that you want to pursue, you really have to push yourself, go out and talk to people. Start with small groups. Have a small group discussion with your colleagues, your contractors, slowly growing from there, and you learn how to chair a meeting in a group of 10, 20, 50. It takes time, but reading up some books will help. Like Architect Ellina said, I was reading out a book on how to talk like TED, how you present like a TED presenter. So books that teach you how to express yourself, communicate, will really help a lot. But practice along the way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. We have another question from June. Could you both share to us a significant experience of how did you deal with men consultants, contractors, or developers when they show a strong gender discrimination while talking to you? Okay. I mean, have you had such an experience? If you can, I mean, if you have, maybe you can share. If no, maybe, yeah. Or Architect Ellina, do you have any experience deal with
strong gender discrimination? Well, usually I would let them be comfortable with their thoughts, because at the end of the day, I'm still in the project, and it usually works that way, because at first, if they think that a woman is slightly, I don't know, slower or slightly incapable, I wouldn't push myself to prove then and there, because in time you will show that you have enough knowledge and you are dependable, reliable, and you're responsible. So for me, I just let them think what they want, but at the end of the day, they will know that you are there. So that's important.
I think whatever we do, it will, and the result, it will show in the result. Yeah, whatever we do, I think that is the best way to show that we are capable in doing what we can. Yeah. So anything that Shyuan would like to add on?
I agree with Ellina.
Yeah, maybe we'll move to the next question. Can we please stop calling ourselves fraternity of architects? The gender bias is so obvious. A gender neutral label would be a more appropriate. Yeah. Okay, maybe may I ask, is there any advisable to confront our client one-to-one in a polite way if they kind of humiliate us in a meeting? I've experienced that before and not able to forget the moment, which kind of decreased my self-esteem. Yeah, I think it's another asking for advice and how we deal with situation. I think for both the architects has already shared in their slides, and like be water and then respecting each other. I think if we keep that in mind, I think things will work out. I believe so. Okay. Architectural talks pertaining to women are more often geared towards balancing marriage and career. It's getting saturated and still at this point. Are there any other topics aspect that we look forward in the near future or things should be emphasized more? Thank you, Joy Tan, for your suggestion. If you have any topic that you would like us to look into, feel free to reach out to our DEI committee. Thank you very much. Thanks for the speaker from Lok Chi Ming. Thanks for the speaker for sharing their experience. It's interesting to see how feminine equality, humility, I think relates to architectural practice. I think those are all the questions that we have answered in the chat. If you can, I mean, you can still continue typing questions if you have, because we have time until the 12:30. But gentle reminder that you will have the sign. You will have to write down or copy or record the sign out code. In order to get your CPD points. I mean, before we get any other questions, maybe 1 minute. So anything that Architect or Ellina that you would like to talk about out of all these things, anything that you would like to add on? Apart from your experience as a overseas graduates, maybe share on your career path, because I see like some of our graduates, they are overseas. Maybe they face the barrier of pursuing the part 3, maybe their part 1 and 2 was not recognized. So is your path to moving towards the part 3 and get recognized here, is your path along this way, have you faced any barriers, or it was a smooth path to, I mean, with the part 1 and 2 degree from the overseas?
I think I'll start first. I think first, before you apply to any university overseas, try to find out if they're recognized by LAM. It's not impossible, but it takes some time now for you to be, going through all the exams and showing your portfolio to get your portfolio recognized. One of my part 2 architect, actually, she came back from Greenwich. Okay, it wasn't recognized, but she said this process wasn't very complicated. She had to present the portfolio just once and she passed it. So answer your questions, I think it's not that complicated, but try to eliminate the problem before you go.
Ellina, did you face any barriers when you pursuing, get or your part 1 and 2 recognized and then pursuing to your part 3?
No, because the condition that we had before applying to the university by JPA, we need to have it accredited. So I got in Bartlett and also Newcastle University, but I chose Newcastle. So basically, we know that there's no issue from the beginning, the information. So I think at the end of the day, the issue nowadays is that whether people want to take part 3 or not. So that would be the problems that we are facing, including all the architects. Most of them, especially after this MCO, people are start to drop out and be entrepreneurs or other things. So yeah, that is more, I think, more critical in our world at this point.
Yep. Or maybe anything that you would like to share from architecture, because you pass your exam in one go. As like with one attempt. So any tips to some of the participants for those who are taking, or encourage them to take the part 3 exam?
Credits goes to Architect Ajanta and Architect Rida, because they were holding this BAR course during my time. I was one of the first batches, and they helped me a lot. Without them, I wouldn't have passed it on the first attempt. So I think study alone is not going to help. Join the classes, talk to your study groups, and really want to do it, just put all your time in.
And I guess we will need the vibes, like with everyone together, then you are more motivated in getting it. Yeah. So thank you very much. Because I don't see any further questions from the Q&A chat box. I think our webinar for today is also coming to the end. So appreciate if here is the sign out code for some of the participants. Thank you very much. Thank you, Architect Shyuan, and thank you, Architect Ellina. Thank you for all your sharing. Thank you for your time. Thank you all the participants. Wish you have a good weekend. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your participation. Thank you. Okay, I'll see you next round. Thank you. Bye-bye.